in need of scrutiny. We certainly have that situation. So I look forward and hope we'll continue that work in this 115th Congress. Today's hearing on the state of religious liberty in America is very timely. And I'm sorry that the state of religious freedom is not so good at the moment, for our nation seems to have entered a dark zeitgeist. When it comes to religious freedom, our most fundamental values, as embodied in the First Amendment's Religion Clause, are under threat. I heard, it was on television, I guess, of President Obama's executive order banning all refugees, and it's President Trump, sorry, President, wishful thinking, channel myself back to the good old days. When I heard of President Trump's executive order banning all refugees and all travelers from 7 majority Muslim countries with what effectively amounted to an exception that favored Christian refugees for admission, I was disturbed. I thought, this is not the America that I grew up in, studied and revere, and take an oath to uphold. This executive order must be seen in context for how it coincides with President Trump's campaign promise of a, quote, total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States. Rudy Giuliani, a prominent Trump supporter, said the president wanted a, quote, Muslim ban, unquote, and asked him for a way, quote, to do it legally. Good evidence in the cases that later came forward, but terrible for the idea that our country was looking at a religious test. And President Trump did on television the same thing in an interview when he said he wanted to prioritize Christian refugees over those of other faiths. Now, I supported a bill, I think, that we had about Christian refugees, and I think it might have been a minority of Democrats on that. There's a lot of Republicans and just a few of us Democrats. So I understand the fate of the Christian refugees, but to take our immigration policy and prioritize one religion is still wrong, whether that was a Christian minority or Jewish or Buddhist or whoever. I cannot believe our country, which has a history of being a haven for religious freedom, going all the way back to the Pilgrims, John Winthrop, talking about our shining city upon a hill, which I think Reagan then played upon, would engage in such an act of religious intolerance. The freedom to worship one's God or no God is fundamental to our national identity and our essential character as a large and diverse society and central to our values. If religious freedom means anything, it means that all religions, and not just those of the majority culture, have a right to be free from discrimination by our government. There's lately kind of been a group in America that have been saying that this is a Christian nation, and that's not true. We are not a Christian nation or Judeo-Christian nation. We are the United States of America, and we welcome all religions and put none over another, and that's why we have a First Amendment. Casting suspicion on Muslims because they are Muslims is not an American value. Unfortunately, denigrating Islam and its followers seems to have become the latest form of dog whistle politics, and innocent people are paying the price. Hopefully they won't be paying the price as greatly as we fear they will be, as American troops might have people turn on them in Iraq, where we suspended immigration, yet we're fighting with those people against ISIL. Just yesterday, the Southern Poverty Law Center issued a report finding that the number of anti-Muslim hate groups in America rose sharply from 2015 to 2016, tripling from 34 to 101, a rise which coincided with the 2016 presidential campaign and much anti-Muslim rhetoric. A coalition of 24 civil rights and religious organizations wrote to this subcommittee, quote, treating one faith as a second class and favoring others, as the executive order does, threatens all faiths and the religious freedom that protects us all, unquote. It is no argument to say that we need this order for national security reasons. Indeed, we've done nothing in the last 4 days, 6 days, I guess, since the order was Ninth Circuit ruled on the order, and we were told that terrorists and bad hombres were rushing into our country by the hour, and yet we've done nothing Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No action. It is not nearly tailored to countries with a history of terrorist attacks in America. In fact, those 7 countries had little to no immigrants who committed terrorist acts. They were Americans with ancestry from Somalia. But the 9/11 folks, of course, were Saudi Arabia and Egypt, and I think maybe the UAE, I'm not sure, but certainly countries that weren't on that list. And that was unfortunate. It brushes broadly, impugning entire countries and an entire religion. Indeed, this is why federal courts have found at at least in these initial matters in district courts and in the Ninth Circuit, that the TRO should have been issued because there was a likelihood of irreparable harm and immediate damage to, and apparently that it likely violates the Constitution. Silence is not an option. As the late, great Nobel laureate and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel said, we must take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. We must speak out.